Ladies and gentlemen, today is November 10th, 2017, and you dropped into the right place because today is the KNKL Show, episode 358, where we learn to be better artists. My name is Kienan Lafferty, and I would like to welcome you to another show. I am feeling a whole lot better, but still can't talk for some reason. I'm feeling a lot better because you guys, your words of encouragement, everything that you guys have been saying, and I've been thinking a lot about like my show. And in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, this is from last week's episode. I realized, you know what? Like all good artists, I was just being a big baby. Sometimes we get into this funk. By the way, we're drawing FORTNITE today. We get into this funk where we just seem to doubt ourselves. We seem to question ourselves. And if anything, I wanted last week's episode to be a good reminder that no matter who you are, whether you're the artist just beginning their journey or the professional artist working for an amazing company like Wavedash, we all get our thoughts of worry and doubt and times where we question ourselves. But regardless, all that is in the past, feeling good. Things go in waves, right? I'm sure we'll delve back into that territory. We'll go into that brooding artist territory in the future. But today, we're going to be talking about FORTNITE. We're going to be drawing a really cool piece. Well, hopefully it's going to be cool because I'm going to be doing it all live. That's right. No smoke and mirrors. No smoke and mirrors. We're not doing any time lapses. Time lapses, no. Those are for other people. Animated GIFs where it shows like the layers that appear, but you don't really learn anything. Those are for other people. That's for Instagram later. But today we're going to be drawing something all live, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Figured I'd call this a little draw together. So I hope you get comfortable, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you pull up. Hope you got a little bag of chips, or I hope that you're drawing yourselves, because we're going to be drawing together today. So the original idea that I had for this was, of course, FORTNITE. For those of you who haven't been playing FORTNITE, for those who've been living in a bush, right? Or actually, no, that's what you do when you play this game. For those of you who've been hiding under a rock, well, I guess you do that too. But you know what I'm saying. It's the phrase. For those of you who haven't heard of this game, it's freaking awesome. FORTNITE BR. I had this idea the other day because I was looking for some FORTNITE fan art. And lo and behold, I was terribly disappointed. Terribly disappointed because there's not a lot of fan art for this game. And I guess it's because the characters themselves are not super, well, I don't want to say they're not memorable. They're designed really well. But just in general, they don't really have names. They're more like player models that you play as in the game or during the PvP sessions. I actually picked up the game back when it was in it's still in early access, but I played the PvE game because I thought that was going to be really cool. And I always wanted to try PUBG. By the way, I'm just going to start by laying some stuff in. I have a couple ideas for how I want to do this. One of the things is I for sure want to have the character shooting a gun. And immediately I am going to put this over to the side because I can already tell that this isn't going to work. But you can see I got my friends. I invited my friends over to the party because we're starting with a blank canvas. We all know that the greatest enemy of the artist is this thing right here. You never want to look at the blank canvas. Make sure you get your references together. Have some nice friendly faces to look at. Some cute faces like this Urban Assault girl. And from there, we can start by thumbnailing. Now, what is the importance of thumbnailing? I totally forgot what I was saying before, but that's okay because this is more important. What is the importance of thumbnailing? I used to be in the camp where I said that thumbnailing was for noobs. I was not afraid of the blank canvas. I could just start going in there and drawing and making everything look great right off the bat. I remember what I was going to say. I was talking about slurp juice. Slurp juice is the coolest thing that I've ever seen that's ever been added into this game. So yes, we're going to be having the character drinking slurp juice and then looking to the side, right, like this. We're going to be drinking the slurp juice, and I'll keep this nice and simple for you guys so that way you can tell. This is actually a really good way to start pictures. I like to start pictures with simple, funny expressions like this because you can capture perfect expressions in stick figures like this, right? You can capture an expression as simple as this, right? That right there has so much expression, and I did that in just a few seconds. So I start with things like that oftentimes. And so I want this character to be chugging down the slurp juice. And basically it's going to have, I know that I want to have a victory royale type thing happening back here. So this is where the victory is going to be. Victory. Okay. We got this cute Urban Assault girl, which we don't need to worry too much about the facial anatomy. We don't need to worry about any of that stuff. Right now we're just focusing on pose. Okay, and we want this to feel heroic, so we're going to kick that chest out. And then we want her to be holding a gun on the other side. Now, those of you who play the game, I'm stuck between the legendary Scar and the Blue Burst. There's a heated debate that happens on the subreddit all the time, which gun is better. But maybe just to troll everybody, I think I'm going to do the Blue Burst. So let's see. So one idea is that the gun would be sticking out this way, which would be kind of cool. But ideally, I'd like the gun to be sticking towards the viewer, right? So this is our first challenge. This is why thumbnails come in handy, because already we're finding out that, hey, we need to figure out how we're going to position this so that way the character can be aiming that gun towards us, okay? Now I want this big kind of I want this motion to be kind of going this way. And yeah, so that's an okay start. One of many thumbnails that we will do today. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do this. I might be here drawing for 30 minutes. I might be here for an hour. I don't know. I've been thinking about last year, how we did Wayna and how I did that. I did like the full process. I think it took like 3 hours, but I did divide it into 3 parts for those of you who just got scared. Actually, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can already see how long this is going to be. So I am forgetting the fact that the future is a thing. But that's okay. So let's go ahead and get back to this. So let's start a new thumbnail here. Oh, another idea was that I kind of wanted this to be, I'm drawing this, what would that be, hamburger style? When I think the final piece, I kind of want it to be hot dog style. Actually, I forget which one is hamburger, hot dog. Okay, whatever. You guys can educate. The simplest, the most basic of things, you guys can educate me down below, or you can have the heated debate about which one is hamburger, hot dog. Because it's like I see a hamburger here, right? It's like you make the hamburger, you got the sesame seed buns, right? You got the sesame seed buns, but that could also just as easily be a hot dog, right? Just put the mustard on there. So I forget. But anyway, that's beside the point. We need to figure out how we're going to point this gun towards the viewers, because I want this to have a sense of dynamic to it. I want this to feel like really explosive, like all of the motion lines are pushing in towards the character. So maybe, this is it. This is probably it right here. So if we have the character looking up like this, and then this hand is chugging the slurp juice. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so the slurp juice is going to be right here. That mason jar, that good old mason jar. And I want this character to be like kind of smiling, right? I want him to be like slurping, but like smiling as well. And kind of have like this cocky face, like, oh yeah, I got the ultimate, because this character is going to have like a rocket launcher on their back and everything. I want them to have like the ultimate loadout. So I want them to look a little cocky, maybe not unlike yourself at the end of the game after you have the ideal loadout. You know what I'm saying? You got the 100 shields, 100 life, rocket launcher, Scar, or Blue Burst. Got some backup shields just in case. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I want this arm to be, I want her to just be hip fire in this thing. Hip fire in this sucker. She ain't afraid of nothing with Blue Burst. Actually, Blue Burst is pretty terrible. It's terrible hip fire, but maybe we don't need to go into that much detail. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I do know, hey, I got my reference over here. Let's take a quick look at that. Now, notice how I'm just glancing at this. I'm glancing at it, but I'm not worrying about putting too much detail into this right now. I'm just representing this gun, for lack of a better term, just with this box, right? And I might put in a little bit of detail, like, say, the clip, as well as the handle down here, which the character must hold. Hey, how about that? Okay, cool. Cool, and I want this character to be awesome. Sexy, because we know Urban Assault Girl is sexy. You got that booty. Let's make sure we get that in there. But let's figure out how we want to position the legs. So this is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this over. Let's play around with this pose a little bit. I think we're getting closer here. Getting closer. And how long have we been going? I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and look at that. We're already closing in on something that we like. Now I want this to be... Let's see. I don't want both shoulders to be up. Okay, so this has to do with not contrapposto, but this is dynamicness in your poses. Okay, so I was actually tempted to like raise this shoulder, But do you see how when this shoulder is raised up here too? See how that feels weird? Like one shoulder's up, right, to drink the juice. But then I think that it would be much more dynamic if the other shoulder was down. And also this would come in handy to simulate the realism of the weight of the gun. So this shoulder should be down. Let's have that down, and then we can really kick that neck up. Yeah, this would be great. So she's literally looking down her nose at us. I think that would be really cool. So we'll have something more like this. And that makes me want to play around with maybe the gun is pointed more down. Like maybe we're the final person that she took out at the end, right? We were bushing it. We were a little bush Wookie, and she caught us. She saw us turning the camera, and the character's head kind of popped up a little bit. So this gun should be aiming right at us. Right at us. Could be cool. Could be cool. I don't know. We'll see. And this leg right here, let's see, how do I want these legs to go? I imagine one being up, like she's standing on something, but then I don't know what to do with this other one. Watch how I sculpt these legs with the simplest of shapes. Ooh, that actually looks kind of cool. Yeah, I'm digging that. And then this other leg can come down like that. That's cool. That's quite cool. Oh, she could also have a shotgun. That was the other thing. I forgot. Shotguns are so OP in this game, and I love it. I love shotguns. That's a pretty cool pose. I like that. And then Victory Royale. Victory Royale. Okay, so now I'm stuck between, do I want the gun pointing towards us or do I want it pointing up? Because here's the thing. With the gun pointing towards us, we're going to lose a lot of the detail of what it is. And I wanted this cool feeling of the gun. Like I wanted it to be more like a design, right? Rather than like a League of Legends splash where the character's, weapon is coming straight at you. That can be cool. But I also want the gun to feel like I want to see some detail on that gun. So let's try tilting it just a little bit more like this. Or try a completely new pose. Because now that we're figuring out things like, hey, this leg looks good when it's up. This leg looks good when it's up. Now we can start applying that and we can start changing the camera position, which is another big thing that I like to do in the thumbnailing stage. So maybe we'll try that really quick. So see, already we've got a bunch of different ideas, guys. See how we are doing this and we're not getting attached to any of these? We're in the dating phase. We don't want to get too involved. We're just looking for options. Thumbnailing is the dating stage for your piece, if you want to think about it that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So I want to try lowering the camera. I want to try lowering the camera so that way we're like looking even more up at the character. So let's try something like this. So we've got the big old hips right there. We've got this up like this because I want the top of the character. I want the very tippy top thing to be the slurp juice being drank. I think that's the coolest part of this picture. So if we have something like this, and then this arm is reaching upwards. Maybe she's almost like waterfalling it. That could be interesting. Like she's like this. Drinking the slurp juice. Looking down at us. Looking down at us. Pointing the gun at our face. Got that booty. Oh, that's actually looking pretty close. It's looking pretty close to what I want. Maybe she should, if she's that close, maybe she should have a shotgun. That would be pretty cool. All right, let's roll with it. We got shotgun possibilities here, people. Shotgun possibilities. And all I'm going to do here is I'm laying in some, notice how I'm drawing small. Like there's a reason why I'm not zooming in and drawing like this. Because as soon as you make this as big as the canvas, now you want to go in there and be like, okay, well, let's draw in all the details. We can't just have a face that looks like that. We need to draw in details. Where's the hair? And is she going to have a hat? You know, it's like, oh, maybe there's like hair going this way. And that's okay. But then you start going in there and be like, okay, let's really make this eye look good, right? And then let's draw the nose. And that actually looks really scary. But see, that's the problem, is that you should not be worrying about those issues just yet. You want to be thinking small. You want to be thinking very, very rudimentary. Very, very rudimentary, okay? So that actually looks pretty cool. And then if we have Victory Royale right there. Oh, yeah, that's getting closer. That's getting really close to what I want. That's getting close to what I want. And then we can have this awesome leg just coming right at us. And this other one right here. Yeah, I'm digging that. Okay, cool. So now that we're getting closer to something that we like, now we can begin getting ready to move into the next part of the stage, or the next piece, the next part. Next piece, next part, whatever you want to call it. I am going to duplicate this. Let's go ahead and move this down. I'm gonna move my chair up just a tad. Oh. It's good. Watching the posture. I'm still in the frame. That's good. Okay. So now we can make this a little bit bigger. A wee bit bigger. Let's move it over by our references. Now we can start laying in some details. Now there's two ways that we can go about this. One is the line sculpting stage, which is my personal favorite, which is one option. The other option is to lower down the opacity. I'm sure you've seen this plenty of times. Create a new layer and then begin kind of redrawing things with shapes and really starting to get that anatomy in there, right? As we've talked about before, in drawing bodies, this is when we are going to be kind of creating the anatomy with those shapes that I taught you guys about. But in this case, well, which one do I want to do? I feel like the anatomy isn't perfectly set yet. There's a few things that I need to work out and I still want to stay loose. So I'm going to opt for the line sculpting stage. And I'm thinking that we should get to a point where we get the lines sculpted out and at least the wireframe of the body down, and then we'll probably call it good on this part. Don't want to make any promises. We might continue this next week. We might even continue it right now. Just depends. I'm actually really digging this. Okay, so there's a couple things right here that are already going to give me a bit of trouble. And that is the gun. So right now, I'm just going to make a mental note to not worry about the gun. We can worry about that later. Because what I'm really enjoying is this right here. I'm really digging the hips going up like this. And I'm liking the torso like this. And then I'm really liking the face or the head. I like the basic of the head, the basic shape of the head. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just erase this a little bit. Actually, I'm going to lasso this. Because I feel like this needs to be moved back a little bit. Because the neck needs to be moved back just a tad. And this is me thinking that I want to reinforce this line of action that's happening. There's a line of action that's going through this character. Do you see it? It's very strong. It's like bent back. It feels victorious. It feels awesome. It feels sexy. We want all of those things. Hey, how about that? Well, let's go ahead and use that then. Why would we not use that? Okay, cool. So it also looks like this character, luckily, I think I'm going to ditch the hat because I don't think the hat actually exists in the game yet, at least not without spending another $10 on it. Right? The cosmetics, I know they're a little overpriced, but I didn't make the game, so don't come at me. You're going to have to take that up with someone else. Okay. But, okay. I don't know if I want the waterfall effect. I think I do want it to be like she's sipping it, because that will allow us to show the cuteness of the lips, right? Yeah, it'll allow us to show us like the pursing of the lips, the duck face, but it's actually practical. It's actually reasonable that the character would be making that expression. Okay, cool. So we got this arm that comes back here. Now notice how I'm just drawing in the arm because I know where the arm kind of has to go. I'm not worrying about where the hand is. Like I'll draw the mason jar in there right now, actually. Well, actually forget everything I just said. This might not work. This might not work. I'm going to draw in the mason jar first because I know the angle that it has to be slurpable. And it's probably going to be right around there. Okay? Now, with that in mind, actually, we could probably tilt it up a little bit more. Probably tilt it up a little bit more. You can cheat this a tad bit, right? Because that slurp juice needs to be going down like that, right? That's the line representing the liquid. Now, it's a little bit hard to do this because you might be asking yourself, Keenan, how do you know what perspective that's supposed to be in for this camera angle to make it look like the liquid is at the tipping point where it would start falling out of the jar? And the answer is, I don't really. I'm just kind of winging it. Just do it till it feels right, till it feels about right. Okay, so right here we have the jar. So we know with the jar being positioned there, the hand is going to have to exist right around this area. Okay, and the fingers probably will be right about there. Now notice how simple I did that. I just drew in a shape that represents the fingers on the top. And then I also drew a shape down here that represents the thumb. Okay, and then from there, look at that. We can then connect it to the rest of the body. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Actually, I really like that. Now let's see, if I was drinking something, this is also a very common thing that I do. Whenever I am trying to figure out small details of a pose, I will actually do the pose myself, right? And if I can't take a picture of myself with my own webcam, sometimes with really hard poses, I will just use my webcam, and I highly recommend you guys do that too, or use your phone, have your friend take a picture of you, and do the pose that you are trying to get in your piece. But more often than not, I can quickly just do the pose, and I pay attention to the positioning of my body. Like, for instance, do you see how if I were to drink a jar, look at how my elbow, it actually points straight out from my torso. It's not like this, right? You could drink it like this too, but then again, look at where your elbow is pointing. It's pointing off into the distance. So do we want this one or do we want this one? Actually, I kind of like this one because it feels more victorious. It feels more victorious to like lift the elbow. I don't know, maybe that's baseball form, right? You got to raise the elbow. Makes everything look more professional. So yeah, in this case, we can see that the elbow is out a bit. It is moving away from the torso. It's actually pointing generally in the direction of the torso. So I'm going to try to mess around with that a little bit. Let's go ahead and duplicate that layer. Our best friend Control-J allows us to do that. So how do you point the elbow away from the character? Well, it's actually quite simple. All you have to do is take this arm and point it more this way. Point the forearm more this way, and then the rest of the arm must follow. So now we have something like this. We have something like this. And I really want to get that shoulder in there. So now we might have something like this. Now you have something to compare. You can compare this to this. Now which one feels better? Actually, I actually like the one with the elbow higher. It seems that the higher the elbow goes, the better this pose feels. Is it perfectly anatomically correct? Maybe not. But also, you can feel free to break the anatomy in subtle ways. Very, very subtle ways. Again, you can only get away with so much. You can bend the anatomy. In fact, let's say it this way. You can bend the anatomy, but you cannot break it. Now, the line that is drawn between bending and breaking, that is something that you must learn with your own eye. You must do it wrong a few times. But more often than not, you'll be able to begin picking it out once you start doing it right. And with this arm going like this, I think that the ellipse for this jar needs to be a little bit more like that. The ellipse for the mason jar must be a little bit more like that. Right? No. It actually looked better before. I like the ellipse as it was before Okay, so here's an example of how we're going to bend the anatomy a tiny bit, because for the arm to be going this way and for the hand to be grabbing the mason jar at that angle, it might be a little uncomfortable, but there's still probably a way to do it. Here's another thing that you can do. If you're having trouble with hands, I would say duplicate your layer. Go ahead and erase this jar a little bit and actually just play around with how the hand would actually grip this bottle. So we've got the pinky up here, and then we've got the other hands, or the other fingers that go down like this. And then the thumb would have to reach down like this, and it would probably rest right about there. See? So we have, and then ask yourself, does that look like it's possible? Does that pose look like it's possible for the hand? Sometimes I'll put a little armband on there. I don't know. It's just, actually, it doesn't need to be an armband, but I'll draw the ellipse of the arm to kind of like ask myself, does that look like the arm could contort in that way? Does it look bending and not breaking? And if the answer is yes, then you got yourself a solid choice. So that solved that issue. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. And just for example, guys, take a look at all of the layers that we've created here. All of these old layers that we have been experimenting with. See, we started here. See how it looks a little bit off, but already we're beginning to solve a bunch of problems. So let's go ahead. And I'm actually really happy with how this is going. I didn't think it would go this well. This is great. I think it's because I'm in a better mood. You guys really got me in a better mood. And you made me realize something. You guys made me realize that I should just be drawing the stuff that I enjoy. I think I really focused on, like, I do love you guys, and I say that all the time. And I really, truly want to be able to help artists. But at the same time, I want to be able to have a good time too. I want to be able to enjoy my show. And I remember back when I was enjoying it the most was when I was just drawing the things that I wanted to. And then, hey, a tutorial would actually appear out from nowhere. I would be like, hey, I want to start this new piece. Well, maybe I should do a tutorial on thumbnailing and the importance of starting rough and not getting too stuck on details early on. Maybe I should show that process. I should show how I do that in my process early on. And like that, just like that, the tutorial proposes itself, or it reveals itself, and simultaneously, we're having a good time. Okay, cool. So I love this angle because it allows us to basically push the chest up so high that it's like, basically like the plane of the chest is right at our eye level. So we can have the boobs like in this area and it doesn't look weird. I just like it because it feels powerful and it also feels like sexy at the same time. So you'll notice that when I can get away with this angle, I like to do it a lot. I also did it in the Ari piece. Those of you who followed that a long time ago, and for those of you who haven't seen that, I highly recommend you go back and check that out because that's another tutorial where I did the entire thing. Well, I walked you through the entire process. It wasn't real time, unfortunately, because I can't stream for tens of hours, 20 hours, showing how I paint a freaking face, right? Like that would not be fun for anyone. But just like this general stuff and things that like bang for the buck, right? That's what I'm all about. I'm all for bang for the buck type of tutorials. But I also really like real time because I think that is something that a lot of people neglect to show. A lot of people neglect to show real time because it's hard. It's hard to show real time. It's hard to paint and simultaneously talk about what you're thinking about at the same time. But I've been doing it for years, so I've gotten pretty okay at it. So that is a skill that I take advantage of. But regardless, I highly recommend you guys go check that out. I love this little bob that she has, or it's not a bob, but it's like this little piece of hair that sticks out. Very cute. Very, very cute. Okay, now I want this shoulder. Okay, I think I'm starting to see what was wrong with this other shoulder, or with this other arm. Why it was giving me lots of trouble. I see why that was happening now. I want to move these hips down just a tad. Just a tad, but let's not lose that booty. Please don't lose that booty. As a great man once said. And let's go ahead and move this shoulder. Let's see if we can figure out this gun arm now. Because that is looking good. I'm really digging the way that everything is looking right now. But this shoulder needs to be dropped down. Down. Down, down, down. Because I want this to feel like there's some good weight in there. And she's kind of like holding this gun, right? Because when you hip fire a heavy gun, you have to like kind of balance the weight somewhere, right? So I imagine that the stock and everything is going to be going behind her back, right? And then the gun can kind of stick out like this. Ooh, that actually looks really cool. I actually like that angle a lot. Okay, and then that allows us to get our hand in there. So here's another part where we need to figure out how the hand is going to grip this gun. So similarly to how we dealt with the mason jar, let's go ahead and get in there and let's erase this gun just a tad bit, and let's focus on just the anatomy of the arm. Okay, so it's going to go down like this. It's theoretically possible that if you were bending like that, you can, another thing that I like to do is I'll measure off of my own body. I'll take my elbow and I'll kind of like place it down as far as I can. And I can actually touch the edge of my hip. So that's totally fine for us to bring the arm down to the edge of the hip like that. And then from here, let's draw in where the hand would be gripping the gun. And for those of you who don't know how a hand grips a gun, it's actually very simple. You just have to have one finger out like this for the trigger, and then the other fingers are going to rest right around in this area. And where are those fingers resting on? They're resting on, well, it's a dumb question, but I like it. I like asking and answering my own questions, okay? This is resting on the handle. Yeah, and we got our nice reference right there. Cool. And then we don't even need to worry about seeing the thumb necessarily, because that is where the rest of the gun comes into play. And then it looks like from the handle, the gun goes up like this, goes back like this. I love this retractable stock. This is so cool looking. So this is going to be sitting back here in this area. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay, and then right here we'll have the stock of, or not the stock of the gun, the clip of the gun. And again, I'm just, for those of you who are wondering how I'm doing this in perspective, I'm just kind of cheating it right now. You can really get away with a lot of things early on because everything is so loose. Everything is very, very loose. And this is actually, I can already tell that this might not be the exact angle that I want, but it's good to figure that out early. Okay, we're going to have tape kind of like going through here. And then we're going to have the muzzle of the gun pointing out this way. This is actually really cool looking. Ooh, I really like that. That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. And of course it's going to be firing, right? Because it's got to be cool like that. And we'll have some bullets like ejecting. Maybe pointing. We can use these as objects to point us back to the character, right? I'm sure you guys have heard about this technique before, where you use objects and things in your background to point back to your character. Oh, in this case, it wouldn't be bullets. It would be bullet casings, but yeah, it wouldn't be ejecting the entire bullet. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. All you gun aficionados are no doubt angry with me right now. But anyway, yes, bullet casings. Pointing back towards the character. See that? In case you can't, here's a higher contrast. There you go. Pointing back towards the character right here. I want you to look here. Okay? Now, the next thing. So this is about the time where I would say, let's take a break. Let's take a quick break and sit back and look at this for a moment. Let's ask ourselves some important questions. Is it hitting the main points that we wanted to with this? Does it feel powerful? Does it feel sexy? Does it feel awesome? And I would say yes. But there is something that is bothering me. That is that the gun is feeling too big. That gun is way too big. So, you know what we're going to do? Are we going to redraw that entire thing? Heck no. We're going to use the power of Photoshop, and we're going to lasso that sucker. We're going to lasso that sucker, and we're going to mess around with this. Lasso it. We're going to shrink it down to about the size that feels right to us. And I feel like it needs to be pointing a little bit more up. Or maybe a little bit more down. No. If it was pointing down, that would be weird. Well, actually, I don't know. Pointing down does look kind of cool. Because then, do you notice how, like, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, well, the down position, it leads us takes us by the hand and it leads us right up here. We're following this line. And then also the bullets can still be ejecting at that angle. We can create a cool composition. However, my initial reaction was to point it upwards because I felt like that would create a V, right? It would create a V transition or a V type of thing, which would look cool, like she's firing off in the distance. That could be cool too. Let's take a look at that. Oh, that one's really cool too. I like both of those because see, this also creates an interesting transition or an interesting compositional line that will bring us into the character. So I don't know which one I want. I don't know which one I want. I guess the best thing to do would be to copy this. Copy that. Oh, I should have done this before. Oh, wait, I got it. Got it. Copy it, paste it. Let's compare the two side by side. And this is about the time when I, like I said, guys, take a break because we've been working for about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And this is a really good time to stretch your hands. So take a look at the big picture. Another thing that I really like to do is oftentimes in my older thumbnails, sometimes I'll pick up on something. Sometimes, I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything here necessarily, but sometimes, I don't know, like maybe this gun. Like, okay, hey, this might actually work. Okay, so watch this. This is where I go back to look at my old thumbnails and I say, hey, this gun with this perspective, what would happen if I just took that? Let's copy that. And can you see where I'm going with this? I bet you do. I bet you do. But, okay, there we go. Let's copy this over. And let's replace this gun with the perspective from that earlier one. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Sometimes in your earlier renditions, your earlier sketches, you will have happened upon greatness. You'll have happened upon a genius idea that you glanced over. And then putting in your old sketch will oftentimes get you exactly what you're looking for. And I think that looks freaking awesome. I think that this looks really, really good. It feels like it has depth. It feels like it has, it's got attitude. It's got attitude and it feels like she's really like propping it against her body. But again, let's not get too excited. Let's not get too excited. Let's not get too attached. Let's go ahead and shrink all of these down and we'll keep them side by side. And this might be where I end part 1 because I really need to stretch my back. Oh, man. Yeah. Stretching, I cannot tell you guys how important that is. Stretching your muscles, making sure that you keep your body in good shape, as well as your mind. More importantly, well, they're both just as important. Keeping yourself from going insane. A lot of people are trying to get in the zone. However, I feel like getting in the zone at the wrong time, the zone is basically where you can almost like autopilot. You can autopilot while you are, say, coloring or rendering. Those are good times to be in the zone. Bad times to be in the zone are when you are frustrated with a piece. Say that you're having trouble getting a character to look right in the right perspective, or you're struggling with a pose. Those are bad times when you want to say, well, I'm just going to force myself to sit here and I'm going to force myself to get in the zone. And you're going to be, the reason why this is terrible is because you're going to be fixing problems. You're going to be trying to fix problems that maybe shouldn't have been there in the first place. Or maybe would go away if you took a step back and say, I'm trying to fix this problem here, but maybe, like imagine if I stopped here. Imagine if I stopped back here and I was trying to resolve what's happening in this piece. And then let's say I did. Let's say I fixed the position of the gun and I fixed the anatomy, but then I realized, hey, you know what? I actually hadn't considered that overall this picture would probably look better if we move the camera down a little bit. Let's move the camera down and see if we can accomplish an even more powerful pose. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like you'll spend time fixing problems that they're not even worth your time. There's a better alternative out there. There's a better option that you can get to if you take a break, take a step back, and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end part 1. We're going to end part 1. I'm going to take a little break, then I'm going to come back to you. And yeah, let's see if we can get this to the point where we lay in our clean anatomy shapes. And yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So I'm going to go stretch. You guys take a stretch break yourselves. Remember, we're drawing together today. I'll see you guys in just a moment. Till then, you guys stay awesome.